عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. طيب, where's Matthew ibn Habib? He's MIA, huh? He's on his way? You spoke with him? Inshallah. طيب. Last week, Mahad, تفضل. Quickly. Main points of last week's class. Hadith mashhur. Hadith mashhur. A famous hadith, a popular hadith. What does that mean according to the discipline of Ilmul Hadith? Hadith mashhur, well known, famous hadith, famous hadiths. What else did we explain last week? Anything else, Ibn Victor, last week? Abdulaziz? Noor al-Hilo. Hadith al-Musalsal. Jameel. What else did we speak about? Anything else last week? Hadith Aziz. Jameel. What else? Before you get started with tonight's class? Hayd. Fadal. Fadal. Bismillah. Anything else? Faisal? Hadith mashhur, we mentioned that. Bismillah. All right, let's get started with tonight's class. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Once again, we've said before, قُلْنَا مَنْ وَتِكْرَارًا مُذَاكَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ حَيَاتُهُ. مُذَاكَرَةُ الْعِلْمِ حَيَاتُهُ. You gotta review, have to make review. All right, no review, you can't lock down the knowledge, can't move forward. Okay, so before we get started with tonight's class, what I'm going to share with you brothers and sisters tonight, those, of course there are different explanations of the book as we said before, from different authors, different scholars, different students of knowledge. You don't just have to stick with us. If someone wanted the full and complete explanation, my versions, and here you have it. This is the audio. This is years ago. No, it's not me reciting it. My recitation ain't that good. But what we did was, before the explanation, we wanted to put the entire audio. That way it's easy for a person to memorize, to recite it properly. And this is, you guys may laugh. Oh man, hold on, I just forgot, sorry. I'm so used to it, I'm using the matches. Yeah. Put my hotspot really quick. What'd you say? There we go. This was years ago, over 10, maybe over 11 years ago. So that's me. A couple extra whiskers maybe, mumkin, maybe a little more, stress marks on the face. This was in my library in Medina years ago, alhamdulillah. And we wanted to explain the book and break it down in English. And this is 7 videos, the entire book is explained. Lines 26 to the end. Mudraj, look, see what's in the picture, right? Look what's in the video. Huh? See that? There's this one. Okay. So nothing new, huh? I had tea jugs older than some other brothers' career. You see it or not? There's no gimmicks. That you see, that's this. This has been through continents. Okay, well, alhamdulillah. Tea has always been a part of the way of the disciple. Walillahi alhamd. Some of those books you see in the back of me, you can see at the masjid. صح؟ تمهيد لابن عبد البر. عرفت شو يا شيخ؟ تحفة المغاربة شفتوه؟ عن اليمين هذا التمهيد. سنن النسائي عون المعبود إلى آخره. Alright, so there's 7 videos, the entire poem is explained. And then I have another version that I did with some students, some sisters, used to be my students in Toronto, in which we did 2 parts, was at an accelerated pace. They used to be students, no longer students, for one reason or another. Al-Muhim. So you have the availability of reading the written explanation, and you also have the availability of taking. Let's see. Where's it at?
أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Our chosen subject
that's not it.
of study is Al-Manzumat Al-Bayquniyyah. The Bayqu.
Al-Muhim, if you want to, inshallah ta'ala, you can check out the what? The explanation. That's there. That's the moral of the story. Okay? The moral of the story, that the explanation has been there for free, the entire explanation, etc. Tayyib? That's the moral of the story. All right. Now let's move forward. That was Chrome, I believe. Let's see. You're stuck with the master laptop, right? Tayyib. Al-Muhim, what's important is, where do we go? Where do we go? Let's see. What? No, I don't think it was. I think it was Chrome. It was Safari? All right, Bismillah. All right. Everything is missing. Where did it go?
If you click maybe file, you can pop it back up with Snapchat Chrome. You can reopen the option. Chrome gives you an option to reopen them.
To restore everything?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Where we at? Which one? All right, no problem. We start again. طيب سهل. All right, who wants to read the lines, inshallah? تعليقات الأثرية. Simple, inshallah. طيب, من حفظ? Who memorized? That's done. Anybody memorized today? Nobody? Mind? You have nothing more?
No.
Bismillah. Start from the beginning. Tfadal.
أبدأ بالحمد مصليا على محمد خير نبي أرسل وفي من أقسام الحديث عدة وكل واحد أتى وحده أوله الصحيح وهو مختصر إسناده ولم يشذ أو يعد يرويه عدد ضابط مثله محتمل في ضبطه ونقله والحسن المعروف طرقا وغدت رجاله لا في الصحيح اشتهرت وكل ما عن بث كاسم قصر فهو ضعيف وهو أقسام كثر وما أضيف للنبي المرفوع وما لتاب هو المقطوع والمسند المتصل الراوي راويه حتى المصطفى ولم يبن وما بسمع كل راو يقتضب إسناده للمصطفى كالمتصل.
طيب.
وكل إسناد المتصل المتصل.
طيب. جزاك الله خيرا. غيره? Who else? Anybody else memorized the lines? All right, so let's get started with tonight's class, inshallah. The last line that we explained was line number 12, in which we went over Hadith Aziz, in which we went over Hadith Mashhur. Line 13, the author, Al-Bayquni, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says, mu'an'anun كعن سعيد عن كرم ومبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم. Line 14, وكل ما قلت رجاله على وضده ذاك الذي قد نزل. معنعن and mubham. That's what we're going to discuss for now. معنعن and mubham. طيب. So read the line one more time. Mahad. معنعن.
معنان عن سعيد عن كرم ومبهم فيه
ومبهم.
ومبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم.
طيب. All right. Let's move forward, inshallah ta'ala, with the explanation. Mashhur. Last week, we said that there are different types of hadith mashhur, famous hadith. A hadith could be famous and popular and totally unauthentic. A hadith could be famous and popular, which has no basis. A hadith could be famous and popular to the scholars of a discipline, scholars of Quran, the Quran. You can't go to any madrasa, any Quran school, east, west, north, south, except that you're going to hear this hadith. Any Quran reciter, Quran teacher is going to mention this Quran, this one narration. People who study Arabic language, they're going to use this example concerning the أكلون البراغيث. مثلا مثال مشهور أكلون البراغيث. Right? And the different ahadith that they use for linguists, and different ahadith that they use that are well known to the people of fiqh. أبغض الحلال إلى الله الطلاق. Well known, the most hated thing that Allah has made lawful is divorce. Every faqih is going to say that when it comes to the issue of divorce. As an example, okay, the ulama of Maghrib, Al-Arabi, Al-Islami, they're all going to mention a hadith with regards to Imam al-Hijrah. And the people will get on the backs of camels. And they'll barely find someone more learned than the Imam of Medina. So the different groups and parties, the different disciplines within Islam, they have certain hadiths which are more famous and more popular. And last but not least, مشهور عند المحدثين على اصطلاح المحدثين. What makes a hadith technically mashhur? All right. Last week we explained that. Let's move forward. بإذن ta'ala. Line number 13, the author says, معنعن كعن سعيد عن كرم ومبهم ما فيه راو لم يسم. المعنعن هو الحديث الذي يقول فيه راويه أو يقول فيه راو واحد من رواته أو أكثر عن فلان عن فلان. وذكر الناظم مثالا سريعا فقال عنه فإن كان الراوي مدلسا ولم يصرح بالتحديث أو السماع فالحديث مردود، وإن كان ثقة ثبتا لم يعهد عليه تدليس فهو مقبول، أو إذا جاء بالسماع تصريح من رواية أخرى للحديث نفسه. All right, moving forward to the English in this version, basic terminology should be on line number what? 13. All right. Tight. Line 10. Line 13. States. Mu'an'an is like from Sa'id, from Karam. And Mubham is what has in it a narrator who hasn't been named. So these are two different types of hadith. Number one is called al-hadith al-mu'an'an. And number two is called al-mubham. Mu'an'an and mubham both pertain to the chain of narration. Mu'an'an is when a narrator narrates from a teacher without explicitly stating that he heard it from that teacher or the teacher told him. But instead he says, so-and-so said. Narrated from fulan. عن سعيد عن كرم بدون أن يصرح بي سمعت حدثني قال لي قرأت عليه أخبرني. هذا فيه تصريح بأنه تحمل هذا الكلام من هذا الإنسان وهذا الشخص وليس بينه وبينه أي راو آخر. أما المعنعن أو المؤنن فيقول أن فلانا قال عن فلان أنه قال سمعته منه حدثك بهذا الشيء ولا بينك وبين هذا الشيخ راو واسطة فأكثر. ما حال هذا الواسطة وهذا الراوي المحذوف ذكره من السند؟ ثقة، ضعيف، كذاب، مجهول، لا ندري. So mu'an'an is a narration in which a person isn't being frank. He isn't stating that he heard it from this person directly, but so and so said. And mubham is a chain of narration in which there is an unknown narrator, or there is a method. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أنه قال جاءت امرأة إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. امرأة. من هذه الامرأة؟ هذه المرأة لم تسم، فقد يؤثر الإبهام في صحة الحديث وقد لا يؤثر. All right, so we said for hadith to be sound, there has to be how many conditions? 4 or 5. One of those conditions is what? Muttasil, what else? They must be equitable. They must have, their religion has to be known. Their precision has to be known. Okay. Says Sa'id narrates from Karam, but does so in a manner which does not make it clear if he did in actual fact meet and hear from him directly. All right. Everybody pay close attention, huh? Close attention. Let's bring back our chain of narration. Mahad, Nur al-Hilu, Ibn Victor. Who's missing? Who's missing from the chain? Who's missing? Abdulaziz came afterwards, but Bismillah. Aywa. Okay. So Nur al-Hilu is the hadith compiler. He's Bukhari, he's Malik, he's Ahmed, right? And I would be who? As an example. If Nur al-Hilu was Bukhari, I would be who right now? Yeah, Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam. How convenient, huh? Allahu Akbar. I didn't make it up, bro. A win is a what? Win is a win, huh? Tayyib. If it would be who? Sahabi. He would be Abu Hurairah. Mahad would be who? Just, of course, that's too easy. And Sufyan al-Thawri, and then meet the Sahaba. Hassan al-Basri, Sa'id ibn Jubayr. There you go. You think we can get it that easy? Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, Muhammad ibn Sirin, Abu Salama ibn Abdurrahman ibn Auf. وهكذا. So right now, Nur al-Hilu is the compiler, Aziz is his teacher, Mahad is his teacher, Ibn Victor is his teacher, and I am, of course, the ultimate teacher, huh? Al-Ustaz A'zam, right? Right? The grand teacher. طيب. So Mubham would be for Nur al-Hilu to say, your chain, mention it. Yeah, Haddathani, reported to me was who? Who's your teacher? Abdulaziz. Tell him your chain of narration. Abdulaziz reported to me. Abdulaziz told us, I was once a student. Bukhari was once a student. Bukhari was sitting down with his teacher, and there were other students. And he says that this teacher told us or told me. And his teacher's teacher is? What did Mahad say? Did he tell you? Perfect example. So you're going to narrate, you're going to say, Abdulaziz reported to me from? That's double. from the Prophet. The Prophet said A, B, C, D, E. So, did Abdulaziz hear from Mahad directly, or is there someone between the two? How do you know that?
I know that maybe they lived at the same time.
But did he tell you that? Did he state that? He said what? Mahad what? He didn't say different that. كعن سعيد فهمت الآن عن أنا وما صرح بالتحديد ما قال حدثني أخبرني قال لي وإنما قال أو عن. Clear or not? George Washington said. Did I meet George Washington? No, I didn't. So who's between me and George Washington? You understand or not? Or just one person, someone who died, and think about someone who died recently, an important figure recently who died. O.J. Simpson. Beautiful. O.J. All right? O.J. said, that's not the same as me saying O.J. told me. O.J. told me. O.J. said to me, I never met him, I would be a liar. But I'm not a liar. I'm just telling you that he said something. It's narrated that O.J. Simpson said. This is life advice of, success in sports, etc., etc. He beat the K's. He was a sports icon, etc., etc. And he gave some beautiful life advice. But I'm not telling you that what? I directly heard from him. So maybe there's somebody between me and OJ, and maybe there isn't. And that itself is the what? That's the problem with this type of hadith. And that type of hadith cannot be accepted until we know who heard from who, from what, who said it precisely. So mu'an is when the narrator says an instead of haddathani, akhbarani, qalani, dhakarali, ajazani. Everybody clear on this? So the chain of narration would be, you report from your teacher who's Abdulaziz, and he said Abdulaziz did what? Told me. What did he tell you? That Mahad what? He said, Mahad said that Ibn Victor reported to him that the Prophet ﷺ, etc., etc., etc. That I said, my favorite beverage is hot tea. Understand? So Abdulaziz and Mahad, maybe he met him, maybe he heard from him, maybe he didn't. But he isn't telling you yes or no. محتمل لهذا ولهذا. It's possible for both. So let's skip the second part of that line and let's move forward to the next line in the poem. Everybody stay with me now, okay? Everybody stay with me. Back to the poem. Author says, and what line is that, Ibn Victor? 14. All right. Let's move forward now. Mursal. Getting used to this laptop. Sorry. Growing pain. 17, all right? Which is also pertaining to this. 18. All right. The author, he says, وَالْمُعْضَلُ السَّاقِطُ مِنْهُ اثْنَانِ ما نريد هذا الآن وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. طيب. ايش النوع الأول من المدلس؟ الحديث المدلس الذي فيه تدليس. الأول الإسقاط للشيخ وأن ينقل عمن فوقه بعن وأن. فهمت الآن؟ عن أو أن بالعين همز. والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف إسناده بما به لا ينعرف. All right, everybody stay with me now. Everybody pay attention. All right, listen carefully, inshallah. So, conditions for hadith to be sahih. Conditions for hadith to be sound. Nur al-Hill is the compiler. We're reading his book. He's collected and compiled the narrations from his teacher, from his teacher, from his teacher, to the one who said the metin, the text, whatever that text may be. Clear on this or not? The two parts of the hadith, sanad and metin. We're done. We explained all of that. That's finished. All right. Give a little space. So, Wa'an, you're his student for sure. You met him, you narrated from him, he gave you ijazah. There's no doubt about that. And he told you specifically what this report says. That's done. But his teacher, he chooses not to state that he heard from him and that his teacher told him. But it doesn't mean that his teacher what? Didn't. Maybe he did or maybe he didn't. But he did not frankly say, Mahad told me. So the problem is where? Here. This is where the problem is. And if he didn't hear this specifically from his teacher, and there's someone else missing, we would have to find out the condition of that other missing person. So the hadith, if he said that Mahad said something from Ibn Victor, from me, without specifically stating from his teacher, that hadith will be rejected or accepted. Which of the two? Why? Adam and Ittisal, and there's something else missing. If we prove that there's someone between these two, we don't know his conditions, his religion, his precision, his memory, etc., etc., etc. All right, everybody with me so far? Now, why would he say an? لماذا يعنعن؟ ما السبب؟ ليش ما يقول حدثني أخبرني؟ ليش يعنعن؟ إيش فائدة عنعن أصلا؟
He didn't hear directly from him?
Maybe he didn't hear from him. So he's cheating. Or maybe he did hear from his teacher, but there's another reason why he doesn't want to say حدثني. فضل.
It could be that, remember in the beginning when you mentioned that if somebody has a conflict of interest, so maybe that person says something against him.
That would be if someone was missing. He's mentioning his name, but he's not saying that he heard it from him directly. So he didn't hear from him, but he's sure that what?
He said it.
Aywa. I know he said it, but I wasn't there that day for class. And I still want to give the narration to my student, who is the compiler. Everybody clear on this or not? I'm sure he said it, but I didn't what? I didn't hear it from him. And to make things worse, he is his student. But for argument's sake, I didn't hear from him directly. There's someone else that he heard it from. That's one scenario. Second scenario, he didn't hear it from his teacher, Mahad. But when he was asked about it, he wasn't 100% sure. So he said, An. Or we were in a sitting in which we were reviewing the hadiths. Majlis mudhakara. We're just sitting around. And the sitting of review, the sparring session, isn't like the actual what? Real class. Understand the difference? So he got hadiths from his teacher after hours. They were just sitting around talking. He says, let me give you the narration. So out of respect, he's not going to say what? Hadathani. Because that is only for the problem in which I was sitting down and he gave us all ijazah. Understand the scenarios or not? So these are reasons why a narrator will diverge from he told me to he said. Everybody clear on this or not? We're on the same page? All right, now, afterwards, وَمَا أَتَى لَسَنْ نَوْعَانِ. Let's say, for argument's sake, there is someone missing between him and his teacher, Mahad. There is a narrator that's missing. Somebody is missing, all right? Somebody is missing between the two. So for him to say that Mahad said, even though he's not saying he said to me, is he lying or not? Is that a lie? It's not a what? It's not a lie, but it's very what? Close. But it isn't technically. He's not lying. So if he does this, does it make him an unreliable narrator?
No.
Maybe it does.
Maybe so.
If the person who's missing is extremely weak. If the person who's missing is a liar. If the person who's missing is someone who slanders the companion. Whatever. But for argument's sake, it doesn't attack his integrity. Understand? Now, you are a person in this line who makes that which is called tadlis. Tadlis has different types. One of those types is for you to, listen carefully, to narrate something from a teacher who is a teacher that you didn't hear. So first and foremost, he's a student of him or not? So the one looking from a distance, he automatically, Abdulaziz, Mahad, ittisal, connection, continuous chain. But this specific narration, he didn't hear directly from his what? From his teacher. But he heard it from you. Come. Quick. Give him a little more space, please. The day in which Mahad heard from Ibn Victor, from me, that tea is my favorite beverage, he had to go use the bathroom. Or he got a phone call, or he ran into an emergency. He ran out, he left the class. He came back to the class, hey, what did Mahad say? What happened in the class?
What did Mahad say?
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But why do you have to mention the middleman when you're directly connected to this chain?
Because I didn't hear it myself.
But why though? You're a student. Why put him and make the chain longer?
I wasn't there.
Or maybe he's younger than you. Or maybe you have a personal problem with him. Allahu Alam, what's between him and him? So therefore, to make it easy and convenient, I'm just going to say what? وافع تدليس ما يكون يعني لا يلزم يكون سبب حرام شر أسباب يعني عدة أسباب. I don't feel comfortable narrating from somebody when I heard from him directly. I don't have to go through you. We're peers. I'm older than you. I'm better than you in a class. Allahu Alam what the reason may be. I didn't mention that I didn't hear this specific narration from this teacher. But I'm his normal student. I normally take from him directly. So I just said what? Clearness or not. Next problem is, you can take a seat, is let's say for example, he narrates from his teacher Mahad and he gives him a name that he isn't known by. No one really knows him by this name. But that's his actual what? That's his name. Even better, Ibn Victor. You report from me, you give me a name that not too many people know me as by, such as what? Sensei. Nah, they may have heard you online saying that. Just give me something else, some other name that not too many people know me by. Abu Ramla. Maybe, maybe not. Not too many people know me by that name. So he says, Abu Ramla told me, he said to me, who's Abu Ramla? That's Abu Ramla told me. That's it. Instead of him directly saying the name that knows me by and calls me by. Understand? So it's a type of cheating, but at the same time it isn't a type of cheating. And this is only known until we investigate and look into the chain of narration. All right, we're going to explain all of that a little later, inshallah ta'ala. Let's get back to line number 12, right? And the second, so we're clear on Mu'anan so far? We're on the same page? Okay, so the chain of narration of the Aziz can be connected with that or not? If you don't directly say that Mahad told you, can the chain of narration be continuous? Nur Hilu, can it? It's possible. Mahad, what you say? It can be connected. It depends. Everybody clear on this or not? It depends on the one who says, an, from. Okay, moving forward. The second half of the line, Mubham. Nur Hilu, give us your chain of narration one more time. You're going to say, Abdul Aziz told me. La, from a man. Rajul, Muslim min al-Muslimin. Who said that? Muhammad ibn Munir said. Ibn Victor's name isn't what? Mentioned. But he's mentioning, I heard from someone. Someone told me. He's not making on. He told me, but I'm not telling you who that person what is. I didn't know his name. He's unknown. Or I know his name, but for one reason I choose not to mention his name. Got it or not? And that is called Mubham. Mubham. That type of hadith in which that has that type of narrator is considered, what is it called? What's that? What would that be called?
The narrator is not mentioned.
Or what would be the ruling on that?
You can't rely upon it.
You can't rely upon it. Why not?
You have to investigate.
Because we don't know who this man is. We don't know who he is. We don't know what his status is. We don't know if he heard from directly. But what if Mahad trusts you, this man? He's trustworthy. Can we rely on it still? Why not? Think about it from a logical standpoint. Why can't we rely on that? Exactly. Exactly. He's good with, but it doesn't mean what? We need transparency. We need to see his resume. You trust him, and we respect that, but it doesn't mean that you know everything about him. Who is he? Where did he come from? Who did he study with? So on and so forth. So the mubham, ma fihi rawin lam yusam, is the narrators whose name isn't mentioned. If the narrator's name isn't mentioned in the chain of narration, the chain of narration is automatically what? Weak, rejected. Except for one scenario, which would be what?
You find out who the person is.
That's afterwards. Except for one scenario, Taha. Another narration, that's secondary. That's not. La. Sahabi. He says, one of the companions of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ told me. That's it. رجل صحب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أربع سنين. A man who met the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. If the tabi says that, the narration is what? Acceptable. Because all of the companions are reliable. Period. End of discussion. There is no grading of the Sahabi. The only thing that's important is determining, is the person actually from the Sahaba. Once it's confirmed that he's from the companions, then he's already what? There's nothing to discuss. He's a good memory, bad memory. Jawaz al-Qadr. There's nothing to discuss. The Tabi'i, different story. You got to look into who he was, what he was. The one after the Tabi'i, we have to look into who he was, what he was. All the way to the Hadith compiler. We got this or not? So, to summarize things, Mubham is a Hadith in which a man or woman is mentioned inexplicitly. The name isn't mentioned. A man told me, a woman told me, a man said, a woman said. We don't know what is the state or status of that man or that woman. Therefore, that chain of narration would be weak. All right, what if, or the second type, when a man or woman is mentioned in the what? The text. A man came to the Prophet. The Prophet said to a man. Is that important? And if so, why? Fine. Who he was talking to, but why would that be of any importance? Keep thinking, finely tuned, think. Think about it. Think about it. The Prophet said to a companion who accepted Islam after the conquest of Mecca. Or the Prophet said this to a man who made hijrah. The fiqh ruling could change based off of who he said it to. This companion didn't accept Islam until the 9th or the 10th year. Proving that this hadith came way after the hadith in which he spoke to one of the muhajirin. Or not. Perfect example of this. Do you have to make wudu if you touch private part? Do you have to make wudu if you touch your private part? So real life example. There are two hadiths. One hadith states that they asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ar-rajulu touches this part of his body, touches that part of his body. Yamassu dhakarahu fi salah." In the prayer, he happens to touch his private part. Whatever the reason. If clothes are falling, scratch, whatever the reason. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا هُوَ بَضْعَةٌ مِنْكَ جُزْ مِنْ جِسْمِكَ لَا يَخْتَلِفْ عَنْ ذِرَاعِكَ وَالْمِرْفَقِ وَالْيَدِ جُزْ مِنْ. And then another hadith says, مَنْ مَسَّ ذَكَرَهُ فَلْيَتَوَضَّعْ. Or if it touches his private part, must make wudu. So these are two hadiths which are conflicting. One says, there's nothing upon you. And another says that you must make wudu. One of the ways, there are many, but one of the ways that the scholars harmonize between these two hadiths, they say the hadith regarding is only a part of you was said to a companion in the early days of Hijrah. They were building the masjid in Medina. And the next narration is afterwards. So therefore the first ruling is cancelled, mansukh. So there's a faida in knowing who's the mubham hatta fil matan. But it's not the same as sahha wala adam sahha. فهمت? الإبهام في الإسناد يضر أكثر من الإبهام في المتن. Everybody clear on this? A person's name isn't mentioned in the chain of narration, big problem, unless it's a companion. A person's name isn't mentioned in the hadith, not so much of a problem, let alone the fact that the fiqh of the hadith, the rulings, that's secondary, that's separate. That's away from the hadith science, primarily. Fahimna, we got it or not? Clear, Abdul Aziz? You guys got it or not? So therefore, the most important thing as a beginner is to truly understand those initial 5 conditions. The more you understand them and comprehend them, the easier it is to tackle 50 different scenarios. If there's an issue with heard or didn't hear, reject it. If it's an issue with him being up too young, reject it. If it's an issue with memory, lack of memory, mardud. If it's irregular, mardud, wahakadha. So the fundamentals are extremely important to understand in any science. Like basketball, strong fundamentals lead to the spectacular plays. But you're never going to find a spectacular person who's fundamentally flawed. It just doesn't exist. It can't exist. Everybody clear on this or not? Popping a wheelie on a bicycle, that is nothing more than a branch of balance, basic balance. You can't keep your balance on a bike with or without the training wheels. You're going to crash. So you pop a wheelie on a bike, all it is what? It's just a manifestation of what? Of supreme balance. That's all. Very, very, very good balance. So well, I only need one tire, one wheel. Everybody clear on this or not? So if your balance is shaky from the get-go, you can forget about doing a trick on the bike. All right. So inshallah ta'ala, we should be done with those 2 lines. Line 12, right, Ibn Victor? 13. Line 13 should be what? We should be done with that. All right. What you read by yourselves in the hadith books, or what you listen to, how you apply it to life, that's between you and yourselves. I can only give you just a little bit. All right, let's move forward to line number 14. All right, line 14. Fadal Alameen. وكله بسم الله. قلت رجاله والضد ذاك الذي قد نزل one more time وكل رجاله ذاك الذي قد نزل. All right, line 14, we're going to deal with 2 types of hadiths that only pertain to the chain of narration. Nothing to do with the metan. And all of those whose transmitters are few is elevated. And its opposite is the one which has descended. So we have 2 things. One is called Ali. And here, translators in their explanation, they don't even mention the second type. They just don't mention it, unfortunately. All right. So how many people do I have in this chain of narration, Faisal? How many people in the chain of narration here on my right side? 3. Good. I need Fadal in the footnotes or in the text. So if I don't read the footnotes, what does that mean? All right, I need 3 more volunteers on my left side, inshallah. Quickly. 3 brothers. Quickly. Taha, get your pen and your pad. You're going to be the compiler. How you go to battle without a sword and a shield, Taha? No hand-to-hand combat on the battlefield. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Well, we need that in the class, though. No, you're going to be on the end, Taha. You're the compiler. You're all the way on the end. All right? No, I need one more. I need 3 narrators. Rather, instead, I need 4 narrators. You, please, come. All right, give you guys some space. Taha, you got to get your a pen and a pad. Whether you got to bum it from somebody, steal it from somebody, but you got to have something right down. All right, give a little more space. Okay, so how many compilers do we have right now? You guys line back up, back against the wall. We have 2 compilers, Nurul Hilu, Bukhari, and then we have Taha al-Arabi, Muslim, as an example. Clear? So, right now, Nurul Hilu, I have 2 chains of narration. You have 2 teachers. You have Abdul Aziz, and then you have Amin. Both of them are your what? Teachers. You heard from Abdul Aziz in New Jersey, and you heard from Al-Amin in Brooklyn. Mashi? You met one in Basra, and you met another teacher in Kufa. Clear or not? So, your first chain narration, Hadathani, Qala, Ibn Munir قال كيت وكيت وكيت. والسند الثاني قلت حدثني الأمين عبد الله قال حدثني عبد السلام قال أخبرني معن قال ابن منير. كم سند لك الآن؟ طيب، أقل الأول ولا الثاني؟ الأول، لكن قد يكون الثاني أصح مع حد ضعيف كذاب مبتدع رمي بالإرجاء، رمي بالقدر، خلاص ساقط. أيوة. مثلا على سبيل المثال يعني فيه بعض الشيء صدوق حسن. والسند الثاني الأمين عبد الله عبد السلام معن، كلهم ثقات أثبات، لكنه أطول. هذا فيه كم راوي وهذا كم فيه؟ Which one are you going to pick in your book? لا أبدا لا شك في ذلك. You're going to choose a shorter chain of narration. Even though my hadith is weak, but you know that the hadith is sound because you have it from your other. But I don't want an extra longer chain. I want the what? عليك بالعلو القرب من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. It's mine. لا أيوة إلا في تعاضد في تقوية. But he doesn't even have to tell you that he has a sanad آخر. ما عليه. So you come along, you look in his book, حدثني فلان ما hadith, how is it sahih? Because you don't understand the science and the dynamic of the science. The scholars of hadith would prefer the shorter chain over the longer chain, even if the chain was more authentic. That's a fact. Ulu was the greatest things that they wanted. One of them was about to die. They said, Yani, what do you want? He said, Bayt Alin wa Sanadin. He said, Baytin Khali wa Sanadun Ali. That's what he wanted on his deathbed. An empty home and a short chain. Are you with me or not? Taha, you have the option of having 4 people between you and the Prophet, or you have the option of having 3 people between you and the Prophet. Who would you pick?
I'm just a little confused.
Fadal.
You said one of the people wasn't like trustworthy.
Mahad is weak, for sure. And an innovator. Tayyib, both.
If you had a chain with 4 links and they're all strong.
Why would you pick 3 with one that's because shortness was everything?
So it's like
No doubt. I want my name to be closest to the Prophet's name. We understand the spirituality behind this. And it's something to show off. No doubt. A hex. Between me and the Nabi al-Kareem, just 3 people. And you have 5 people. You understand or not? I had to travel to New Jersey to meet this one, to meet that one, to cut out the middleman. Clear or not? Now, if you have just 3 people and all of them are trustworthy, sound, then that's what? You're really flexing. You're flexing hard now. But understand this. So therefore, 2 chains of narration for the same hadith. Taharabi, you go now, you stand next to Nurul Hidu. 2 compilers. One has a 3 people in the chain, and one has 4. So no, Taha, you mentioned your chain of narration. learning from Al-Amin? Report it to me. You tell us your narration, unless the compiler could be weak too. You don't know your teacher's name. La ilaha illallah. Allahumma musta'an. Tayyib. All right, so Al-Amin told you?
Amin told me that brother
Abdullah, hold on. Brother Abdul Salam said, but he didn't tell, right?
there's a difference.
Right or wrong? Is that what he said to you?
Things get messed up really quick.
أها هذا يسمى التلقين أنا قد لقنته رواية هذه إشكالية كبيرة جدا. I sat here and I told him what his teacher told to him. Problem or not? And then another person comes along and does what?
Takes from there.
No. He comes along and he does what? The same thing. And the next thing you know, we just come and tell you, and then you say, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Everybody understand? You got to understand the problem now, Mahad? He's supposed to say, no, this is what he said to me. So if he just shakes his head and agrees with what I'm telling him, that proves that he's not what? He's not firm. And he didn't remember what his teacher told him. That's another discussion later on. But you see in real life how it can what? How it can happen. So Taha was supposed to say, no, la, this is what he told me. You weren't there. You're not my teacher. Mind your business. Get out of here. But he shook his head. Good thoughts of me. But what if me and Taha have a madhab disagreement? He's Maliki, I'm Shafi'i, I'm Hanafi. Abu Hanif is the greatest imam, not Malik. Or what if he's Shi'i and I'm Sunni, or opposite? So it's very easy for me to what? Discombobulate. I can fool you. I can sabotage you. And if you're not firm, you just take what he said, and this is how fabricated hadiths came about. And this is how weak narrations found their way. And Taha, he's a little older now. When he was young, sharp. Now he's a little what? A little older. So he shook his head a little bit, and he took what a strange person told him. Everybody clear on this or not? And some of the scholars of hadith, they would do this intentionally. They would intentionally fabricate chains in front of the teacher, and the teacher's going to shake his head or not. To see if they're what? Firm, or there's time to retire. Understand the difference? All right, so that's a real life example. So therefore, al-isnad al-ali, for this hadith, for us to understand this next line, one hadith must have how many chains, Abdurrahim? How many chains does it have to have? Just one, right? How many chains does it have to have? Al-Amin. Abdullah. Abdul Salam. Martin. Mahad. 2, no doubt. It is comparison. One hadith with 2 chains of narration. One is longer and one is shorter. Clear or not? Now, you're not clear. It's very simple. You find out something that happened on the news and you watch it on 2 different stations.
That's the most basic form of hadith. It comes from 2.
No, we're not talking about the forms. We're just talking about a scenario. One teacher, one compiler, 2 teachers, 2 versions. Same text, same matan. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Same text. Tea is my favorite beverage. Same text. But you have one route, like a shortcut. Both roads lead to what? Same place. One is shorter, and one is longer. The longer route is more scenic. The shorter route, you have to pay tolls. Clear or not? This is the back roads, no tolls. It's longer. You get on the turnpike, you pay tolls, but it's faster. But there are 2 roads to what? One destination. Everybody clear on this or not? So it depends on what you would choose. I'll take the shorter route. Even I'll pay the tolls. I don't got it right now. I'm on a budget. I'll take the longer scenic route. So for us to even discuss Ali or Nazil, there has to be what? 2 chains. Al aqal. Just because the chain is shorter doesn't mean that it is more authentic. Just because the chain is longer doesn't mean that it is less authentic. But the benefits of a shorter chain of narration is that there are less people that you have to do what? Investigate, exactly. I got 3 people's lives to look into versus 5. Secondly, the shorter chain of narration allows me to be closer to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. My name is closer to him. Chain of narration, 2 people makes a big difference. Third benefit would be what? It's a what? It's a flex. For people who collect and compile these things, you having the initial, original version, the first time the book was printed, versus a reprint. The first time the book was printed was in 1959. And he has the reprint in 1969. They're both collectibles. But the 1969 version isn't like the what? Evident. But someone who doesn't collect books, who cares? It's just a 10-year difference. They're both old as, like my grandfather. But to a bookworm, a collector, connoisseur, that original 10-year difference is what? Everything. It's a flex. I'm going to show it off. Look what I got. I'm the only one with the original copy of this work. And you have a reprint, which is good, which is sound, which is old. It's out of storage, but it's not the what? It's not the reprint. For him to have that, let alone second print, something was taken out. Or something was added.
Palestine's taken away, Israel.
The encyclopedia has changed. Back then it was signed. Now it's wahakadha. All right, so isnad nazil, and then there's isnad what? Ali. All right, let's read the line one more time to make sure that we understand everything correctly. وَكُلُّ مَا قَلَّتْ رِجَالُهُ يعني بالنسبة إسناد آخر. عندنا كم سند؟ سندان. السند الأول قل فيه إيش؟ رجاله. والثاني كثروا. والأول اسمه علي. الثاني نازل. So it doesn't have to be authenticity or not. Clear or not? You guys can take a seat. Jazakumullahu khairan. Right. Next line. Mahad. وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ. All right. Line number 15. It says, Ibn Victor, and whatever you have attributed.
And whatever you have attributed to the companion of a statement or action, then it is maquf. It is known.
All right. وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ إِلَى الْأَصْحَابِ مِنْ قَوْلٍ فهو عرف علم ذكر علم معلوم. So we have that which is called al-hadith al-mawquf. Al-athar al-ish al-mawquf. Al-mawqufat al-athar al-walida an as-sahaba. The Prophet isn't saying the Prophet did, this is how the Prophet looked, this is what the Prophet allowed. Rather, نزلت هذه الآية في غزوة كذا وكذا. This verse was sent down on the battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent down this verse concerning this munafiq. This verse was sent down concerning this woman from the Sahaba. That's for it. Because the person is narrating it to the time of the Prophet. But instead, Umar radiallahu anhu said, Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu said, Abdullah ibn Abbas prayed like this. But clearness or not. Aisha radiallahu anha did this and she did that. Jabir ibn Abdullah, so on and so forth. Whenever Abdullah ibn Umar would make Hajj or Umrah, he would grab his beard and any hair that exceeded his fist, he would cut it. He didn't say that the Prophet did it. He didn't say that the Prophet told us to do it. He didn't say that the Prophet allowed us to do it. Whenever Ibn Umar made Hajj or Umrah, he would what? The beard that exceeded his fist, he would what? He would cut. That is called what? Mawquf. Understand? It isn't being attributed to the Prophet said when you make Hajj or Umrah, When the Prophet made Hajjatul Wada, he, understand? The companions were with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Umratul Qada. The different times, 4 times the Prophet made Umrah. One time we were with the Prophet, we finished our Umrah, and we grabbed our beard and it doesn't what? Doesn't state that. The Prophet's beard didn't exceed his. Doesn't state that. Or rather, it says Ibn Umar would do that. This is called mawquf. Mawquf. All right, to keep the same conditions, or the conditions for hadith marfu' are the same conditions for mawquf. It has to be traced back with the same, what, of the salam? Same conditions. What are the conditions for hadith marfu'? We explained that. We're not going to repeat that again. Wahid, you with me? For us to say that Ibn Umar said or did a thing, what steps must we take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got it or not? Abdulaziz, with me. All right. What are the conditions, Ibn Victor, briefly, for a hadith marfu' to be sound? The chain has to be connected. And yattasila isnaduhu. What's the description of the links? Those links have to be 2. That's done already. They have to be what? We never said that. More than one. We never said that. La. That's from the fuqaha. We never said that. Those narrators have to be what? That's not, of age isn't the condition. Adlun has the condition. Religious equity. And the meaning of religious equity is Muslim, of age, not reliable. That accuracy afterwards. Adala. They have to have religious what? Equity. And religious equity means they're good Muslims. They're of age. They have mental health. They're sane. And wahakada. That is, the name of the condition isn't them being of age. That's not the condition. That's the description of the condition. Those are the pieces of the condition. Those are the conditions of the condition. But the condition is religious equity. Adala. All right. Number 3 is those good Muslims who are of age, who are sane. They must have precision. You can pray all night. You can fast every day until your tongue turns green. But it doesn't mean that you have the necessary intelligence. It doesn't mean that you're an accurate narrator. It doesn't mean that you're a dedicated student to the science. He's a sheikh. Many scholars of hadith, narrators, they would say, "Lo aqsama ala Allahi la abarrahu." He was so pious. If he made dua to Allah, Allah would give it to him immediately. And if he lo shahida indi ala tamratin ma qabiltu shahadatahu. If he was to testify for a date in court, I wouldn't take it. Yes, eyebrows raised. Pray all night, fast every day, finish the entire Quran. If he told me the sky was blue, I wouldn't believe it. It's weak. So piety and reliability are to what? And benefit from this for everybody. And all of the benefits are for everyone. But the benefit concerning da'wah today is just because a person looks good and sounds good doesn't mean that he knows what he's talking about. And it doesn't mean that he's someone that you take Islamic knowledge from. He's handsome, he's wearing the scarf or the robe or this traditional garment, or he's from this country. It doesn't mean that he's what? It doesn't mean that he has knowledge. And no doubt, Islam and America, the Muslims, we would be much better if we applied this. Everything that smells or looks good isn't rose. Okay? So religious equity is one thing. Precision in narration is another thing. These 3 conditions are called what? Shurut ijabiyya. Bima'na labud an takun. Labud an yakun mawjuda. The remaining 2 conditions are called shurut intifa'iyya. Bima'na yajibu an la takun. Adam wujud. They can't be. And the hadith cannot be irregular. And the hadith cannot contain a hidden defect. What we took tonight, Ka'an Sa'id and An Karam, an example of what? إلا خفية إذا كان المعلن مدلسا. If he was a person of tadlis, and there's someone missing, but he never said that it's a person missing. I never lied to you. I never said he told me. I said that what? That he said. Understand? All right. So those conditions for hadith to be traced back to the Prophet ﷺ are the exact same conditions for a narration to be traced back to. We got it or not? The more we review, the more we practice, the more we keep spinning the wheel over and over again, the stronger and the firmer it becomes in our minds. We got it or not? Okay. What is the benefit of collecting, compiling a statement of the companions and what the companions did and what the companions said? We said this in the class, right? Was this last week or the week before? All right, tight. Let's move forward. All right, reading Surah Al-Kahf on 5 days. Wahid, authentic or inauthentic? Authentic. Tight. Authentic or inauthentic? Everybody agree this is authentic?
Yes, you have to read it on one of the, there's a light, it specifies that a light shines from that day to another, but I think the scholar says, or they inferred it as light.
طيب. Al-Muhim, they are, we're not opening up a can of worms, but I'm trying to show you the importance of al-athar al-mawqufa. The scholars of hadith, they differ on this narration. Can you recite Surah Al-Kahf religiously? Of course you should recite the Quran as much as you can. But is it a special virtue in you reciting Surah Al-Kahf every Friday? Right. This is what we're trying to get into. So right now, those who say that you should, no problem. Those who say that you shouldn't, it isn't authentic. What's one of the proofs that they use? Because they differ over the hadith sound or not. They differ. What's one of the sub-proofs that they use? No. They're saying that you shouldn't. Think about it. After the then, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.